I've been a real estate photographer for 10 years and still am. I'm going to pull back the curtain and explain 24 things that I wish I'd known before I got into this industry. Let's go. G'day superstars. This video is not a technical video. Let's start that off straight away. It's not about all the technical things you need to do to be a real estate photographer. This video is about all the things you need to be aware of before you get into the industry, because there are a lot of things that you don't know until you start doing this job. So I put this video together for you so you can see how involved it can get. All right, number one, estate agents or realtors, if you're in America, are your salespeople, so you have to keep them happy. So let me explain this a little bit. In a normal business, when you're building up your own company, you will hire people. You might hire salespeople to go out and get work for you and bring in more income, and you control those people. Those people work for you. But in real estate, although the salespeople are working on your behalf, they don't work for you. You work for them. So it's a bit of a skew in how the power dynamic operates. It's almost like a marriage. They need you and you need them. The difference is they need you just that little bit less. It's a lot harder for us to go out and get another estate agent to find us work. It's a lot easier for them to find another photographer. So keep that in mind. So you've got to keep them happy as much as you can. And the reason they are your salespeople is that they do all the lead generation, they do all the canvassing, and when they find the customer, they call you to book a job. And although you have to keep them happy, don't overwork yourself for free to do so, but I'll cover more on that a bit later. Their deadlines are not your deadlines. Sometimes the owners of the properties decide when they want to go live online with their properties for sale, but mostly it's the agent who sets the time and sets a schedule when things will go live for sale. So the agent will set the time that suits them the best, because a good agent will have a lot of properties on the go at the same time, so they have to slot those properties in existing schedules that they have already, because they have to consider open times for multiple houses, auction times for houses, and so on. And the reason I know that the agents are doing this more than the actual owners are doing this is because when I go to a house and take photos, the thing I hear the most is from the owner, "Oh, once we signed, everything just happened so fast." It's because the agent from that point took control and moved forward with everything. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is if you have a 24-hour window to do your photos, so if your terms and conditions say that you will deliver your images within 24 hours, you have 24 hours to deliver those images. Obviously, you're going to try and get them done as quick as you can and faster for the agent to get the job out of the way and make them happy. But in times where you have computer problems or internet problems or power issues or just workload problems, you can take 24 hours to get that job done. So don't feel pressured by what the agent wants, because their deadlines are not your deadlines. Remember, they set their own deadlines, they create their own buzz, they create their own pressure. You don't have to be part of that. As long as you meet your 24-hour deadline, you'll be okay. Next up, you will move personal items. You'll move rubbish, you'll move trash bins, you'll move dog bowls, cat litter trays, dirty washing, filthy clothes, baby cots and ashtrays and beer bottles and general junk. You'll straighten bed coverings, you'll wipe down kitchen countertops occasionally. And as part of your job, you will also Photoshop various items out. But the trick here is to make sure you move as much as you can on site, because it's quicker to move it than it is to Photoshop. So the more you move, the less you Photoshop. And one thing to keep in mind, if you move 30 things away from an image and you leave one thing in, the agent will see the one thing you left in. They don't see the 30 things you moved to get the shot. They see the one thing you left in to ruin it. So make sure you move as much as you can. Otherwise, you'll have to Photoshop it out later. A lot of agents will want changes and re-edits, so make sure you factor that into your pricing. Here's a perfect example. I quite often do land shots with my drone, and if the block size is 650 meters, I'll put that on the overlay. Some of my customers, I can almost bet, will say, "Hey, can you change that to 649? Or can you change that to 651? Even though it says approximately, they still want it changed. Sometimes it's important. Most of the time, it's just the agent being who they are. Once you get into the swing of things, you'll work out which companies like things a certain way, so you'll make sure you tailor yourself to fit their needs. Therefore, you'll have as little re-edits as you possibly can. There is no loyalty. Well, that's not entirely true. There is some loyalty. Some of your customers are very loyal to you, but across the board, generally in real estate, there generally is no loyalty. Some customers, if you can't do a job immediately for them, will just go out and find another photographer and then start using them. It doesn't matter how good a job you do, how reliable you are, it's just the way it goes. Here's a perfect example. In the first 5 years of my business, I had a customer that I was doing work for a couple of years. I never missed a day, never took a sick day, never was late to an appointment, always delivered their images on time, always delivered a great product. And this is in the days when I was working for myself, so I didn't have the extra support that I have now. Now, it was a Wednesday. The agent called me on a Wednesday and said, "Any chance you can get out and do this job for me?" I was pretty busy with my existing customers, and this particular job he wanted me to do was an hour away. So I said, look, the best I can do is Friday morning. Now this is Wednesday and I could do it Friday. And because of the travel time, I couldn't slot it in any earlier. If it had been local, I could have squeezed it in between other jobs. But because I needed that extra 2 hours, it was hard, so I had to push it to the Friday. The agent said he'd talk to the owner and come back to me, but then I didn't hear from him, which is actually quite normal because quite often you get a call from an agent and they'll say, hey, can you do a job for me? And then it doesn't go ahead anyway. So then a month goes by and I don't get any work from this agent, so I thought I'll give him a call and find out what's happening. Once the agent answered the phone, I asked him, was there something I'd done wrong or something like that? And he said he felt like I wasn't putting his business and him as a priority, so he just went and found another photographer. When I stated that I'd never missed a day, never missed a job, never been late, always delivered a great product, he said, your photos are great, but that's not the point, you're just being petty, is what he said to me. I didn't raise my voice, I was calm, and I said, look, I'm not being petty, I just wanted to know what happened. And he said, the decision's been made, that's the end of that. And he hung up on me. This agent dropped me without even a phone call, without even saying, hey, look, I was really disappointed you couldn't do that job for me. Next time, could you maybe make more of an effort? Or I didn't feel like you were putting me as a priority. A conversation would have fixed this. Instead, he just got rid of me. But that decision that agent made cost me $20,000 a year in income. You can't make everyone happy all of the time. Now, this expands on the other point previously. Sometimes, no matter how hard you work or how good a job you do, someone will not like your photos, your videos, or you. There's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is do your best and move on. Customers will come and go. This one's kind of obvious, but customers don't always leave you. Sometimes you leave them. Sometimes it's because they're too far away. Sometimes it's because they're impossible to deal with. I've actually gotten rid of a few customers over the years, which is a difficult thing to do because you know you're cutting revenue down, but they are just impossible to work for and they give you so much stress, it isn't worth the hassle. Sometimes businesses go out of business and sometimes they just downsize. I've got one customer who I love working for, great customer. 5 years ago, he had 10 agents working for him and they were my biggest customer. They were giving me the most work. But over the years and COVID and other things happened and he downsized to just 2 employees and himself. So I don't get very many listings from him because he only lists enough to make him happy. And that's fine. He'll always be one of my customers because he's great to work for, but this is the nature of things. Agents will always ask for more than what's normal and they want it for free. For some reason, photography is so easy to do that we should all just do it for free, right? That's generally the consensus when it comes to charging for this kind of thing. And real estate is no different. Agents will always ask for that extra bit. You go an extra mile, and you do generally do that to try and keep them happy, as I said in the first point, but sometimes it gets beyond a joke. You just have to know when to draw the line and say, look, this is a chargeable thing from here, and you can charge extra, or you just say, look, I just can't do that. A perfect example is this. Some agents will ask you to remove water towers out of the back of photos, remove those big power stations out of the back of photos, make the deck look brand new, paint a roof, paint the walls in the house a different color. There's all these things that I've been asked in time. By the way, all of these things are illegal. You can't do any of these things because you can't remove fixtures like power lines and water towers and backgrounds and buildings that are there. You're not allowed to move those things. The other thing is, making a deck look brand new when it looks old, unless they're going to fix it before they have the first open house, you can't do that either. Don't be afraid to say no, especially when it's your business on the line, because if you do something dishonest, you won't get any work with anybody. A lot of the stuff here is based around agents, and there's a reason for that because you're dealing with them all the time. They give you the most work, but they're also the reason why you have the most issues. And this next one is no exception. Agents will micromanage you. You'll quite often do a photo shoot or a video that you've done 100 times for them and they've been happy, and you've sent through the exact same thing and it's exactly what they want because you deliver the product that they want all the time as much as you can, and they'll want changes done for no reason whatsoever. And initially I thought, oh, the owners have now seen the video or the photos and they want changes. But over time I've come to realize that the agent is micromanaging everything beforehand. So the owners haven't even seen these photos or the video yet. The owners don't want to go through all these details. They don't have to worry about all these things because selling a house is one of the most stressful things you can possibly do. So the agent takes that on board. They micromanage everything. They micromanage repairs, builders, painters, photographers, landscapers, everything. That's why it's like that. So be prepared to be managed by your agents. But keep in mind, as I said, they're your salespeople, so you still have to keep them happy. It can be annoying at times, but at the end of the day, they'll go out and they'll get another customer for you and another one and another one and another one. Sometimes house owners are just impossible to deal with. I've had people who are really sad because they're selling houses for deceased loved ones, and I do empathise with that. And I'm always very conscious of that, so I try and make the process of the photos and whatever else I'm doing as easy as possible for them. I've had people abuse me when I walk in the door, yelling at me, treating me like garbage, hating me. They haven't even met me before and they just hate me. because they're not happy with the estate agent and they hate them, and I think because I work for them, I must be the same. Once I explained that I'm a contractor to the estate agent and that I'm an independent business owner, they generally calm down. I've had a young couple sneak off to one of the bedrooms while I was photographing the rest of the house for a bit of fun. And they just told me, hey, how long do you reckon you'll be before you get up the other end of the house? Don't come into the end bedroom. I had a weird guy show me his brand new hunting knife. He kept showing me the blade and turning it and reflecting the light in my eyes. And he was looking at me kind of weird, and I was wondering maybe I was going to be his next meal or something. I've seen divorcing couples fighting, screaming at each other in another room while I'm working nearby. All these things you have to ignore, and you have to be very diplomatic, and you have to smile and just do your job. And most of the time, it's a pretty good job. Some houses you do are just filthy. Now, I can't show you these houses without permission because they're people's houses and their homes, so I can't do that. But 1 or 2 houses a week guaranteed will be disgusting. I'll have to move a lot of stuff. Some houses I just look at it and go, there's nothing I can do, and just take it with all the rubbish in it because there's just too much to move. It isn't my job to completely move every possible thing in a house. And I'm not picking on you renters out there, but renters are generally the ones that won't clean up. And I understand that. Why would you? You've got the agent who's going to sell the house from under you and you're going to have to move again probably. If you're liking this content and want to see more of this stuff, please hit the like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, of course. Also, comment below if there's something you want me to cover in these type of videos. If you want me to do more real estate videos, let me know in the comments below. All right, this one's a lot of fun. Sometimes things happen in houses, weird things that can't be explained. A couple of years ago, I was in this really old house. The agent was there with me. I was doing a dusk shoot. It was late in the day. The sun was setting. We're inside this house talking, and to the left of us, this cupboard door just opened and swung out. And you think, well, that's pretty normal, isn't it? Well, yes, it would be, but it wasn't on a slope. There's no reason for this door to open. When we actually checked the door and held it there, it didn't swing out. So the agent pushed it shut, clicked it shut, and shook it, and just gave it a bit of a shake. So we keep talking, and a minute later we hear a click, and the door just opens up again like that, about this slow. I looked at the agent, he looked at me, I said, did you see that? And he said, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. And he just left. And so I was there in the house to do it by myself. So then I shut the door, gave it a rattle, and it never opened again. It was very weird. Now, do you think, big deal? Well, I got another story for you. This is better. This one I was shooting in the middle of the day. And I'd walked around and done the floor plan. I was doing the floor plan of this one particular room, and this bedroom door kept shutting on me. So I opened it up, it would shut. A minute later, open up, it would shut a minute later. The funny thing was, if I opened and stood there and watched it, it wouldn't shut. But then I'd walk away and then I hear the click and the door would be shut again. And in that particular room was ice cold. Every time I went into that room, it was ice cold in there for some reason. So I thought, I just want to get out of this house. This is kind of weird. I was there by myself. It was a deceased estate. There was furniture in it, but no one was living there. So the time comes to take the photos, and I think to myself, I'm going to shoot that room last. So I shot the rest of the house, shot the outside of the house. I'd finished the floor plan already, and I lined up to do that shot. Now I opened up the door, and of course, I waited a minute, it started to shut again. And I'm getting goosebumps as I tell you this story, so it's kind of interesting. So this time I opened the door and I put my tripod leg down to block the door from shutting so I could take the photograph. And the door just kept doing this, tap, tap, tap against the tripod leg. So I took the photo. I thought, I'm getting out of here, this is ridiculous. Packed up my gear, I walked away. I was 6 feet away from the door and the door slammed violently shut. Just went bang. Scared the hell out of me. So I got my gear and I left. I rang the agent afterwards and said, have you felt anything weird in that house? And he said, that one bedroom, he just pointed out straight away, is ice cold. He doesn't like it. So something was happening in that house. I don't know what it was. This next bit isn't sort of a haunting story. It's a bit different. A couple of years ago, I got sent to do a house that someone had been murdered in a few years before. And this particular woman had been murdered by her boyfriend and been dragged into the bath, and she had been dismembered in the bath. Horrible thing. It's a horrible thing to happen. Anyway, the agent told me about this before I went and did the house. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been any wiser. But because I knew this, I went to this house and I was doing a dusk shoot again. The house was empty, it had been fully renovated, and the bath had been taken away a long, long time ago. I shot the whole house without any incident. I came down, I thought I'll do the bathroom last before I do the outside shots. I'm in the doorway of the bathroom and I take a photo and realise the best angle is from the far corner inside the bathroom. So I go into the bathroom, line up my camera, lining up my shot, and realise I'm standing exactly where the bath used to be. Now, my imagination starts running wild at this point because I knew the story. I'm standing in that very spot. It's not good to be there. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I take the photo and leave. But this time it was just my imagination. If anyone had said to me, what house do you think would have the most paranormal type activity or weird things happen, you would think that a house like that would be the one that has the most things that happen in it. But it was just like any other house. You wouldn't even know that something like that horrible had happened in that house. Some agencies take forever to pay, but they want you to deliver your images immediately. I have a few customers that want everything now. They want everything done fast. They want you to go above and beyond. So I do that. I make sure they're happy. I get their images on time. I make their life really easy, and they reward me by paying me in 60 days, 90 days, sometimes longer. It's quite frustrating, but you're going to have customers just like that. Some agents will try and get their images a little earlier. As I said before, agents will set their own schedule, and sometimes they're extremely busy. So they'll say to you, can I have these images earlier? Now, I already deliver my images really fast as it is, usually by lunchtime the next day after a shoot. But if I need to take that 24 hours, as I said before, I'll take it. Having said that, if I can get them their images earlier, I will, to make their life easier, but I never promise it. This one's a little bit left of kilter, but always ask the owner what their dog's name is. I did a shoot last year where the owners had a dog named Ralph. Ralph was a Doberman. Lovely dog, very friendly. I did the shoot without any problems, everything was fine. A few weeks later, I had to go back because I'd done some landscaping and they wanted the backyard to be reshot. So I went back to their house and I opened up the back gate, and as I opened up the gate and shut it behind me, Ralph came around the corner at a million miles an hour, growling and barking, and he was about to tear my head clean off. And I realized I didn't even have time to open the gate and get out. So I just screamed really aggressively at him and said, "Ralph!" And as soon as I did that, he stopped. And he walked slowly up to me, and I put my hand out and he smelt me, and I don't know if he remembered me or not, or maybe he thought I wasn't a threat, but he started wagging his tail and we had a good old time and everything was done. Everything was fine. This one's extremely important. You can't do this job part-time. You can't do this job to supplement other income. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm a studio photographer, but the work is sporadic, I'll do a bit of real estate on the side to supplement that income. What will happen is your studio work will supplement your real estate job, because if you're not available to those agents whenever they need you, if you're not available at least 5 days a week to do shoots for them, they will just find a photographer who is. So after a while, they'll call you and you say, I can't do this day, I can't do that day. They'll just find somebody who can. Real estate is all consuming. Once you start this and get a few customers, it will take off and you'll be very busy, especially if you do a good job. Estate agents move around between companies a lot. They're salespeople, so they go where the money is, they move. So if you do a good job, they'll go to a new company and there'll be 10 other estate agents who work there as well. And then you'll get that photography business and so on. Or sometimes you'll be their backup photographer because their guy isn't too busy. And sometimes that guy will leave and then you'll become their main photographer and then you'll be busier, which stems back to always keep your estate agents happy. Expect long hours in the beginning, extremely long hours in the beginning, because you're going to be doing all the editing yourself. You're going to do all the photos. You're going to do every part of your business you're going to do yourself. For the first couple of years of my business, before I outsourced my photo editing and outsourced my floor plans, I was working 2 or 3 in the morning, 5 nights a week, just in the busy season, just to keep up with the workload so I could get my images out before I had a whole bunch of new ones to deal with the next day. But if you can outsource stuff after a while, then do that. But in the beginning, you can't afford it. Every dollar you need to get your business up and running. If you get busier, you will get to a tipping point where you'll start hiring other people and you'll start moving jobs off and contracting things out. All right, this one's a hard one for a lot of photographers out there, but don't work weekends. Just don't do it. If you're doing long hours during the week, 60, 70 hours during the week because you get up until 2 or 3 in the morning, you don't want to do that all weekend as well. You'll burn out, you'll hate your job, and you'll just chuck it all in and it'll be all over. Agents work 24/7, even though they have days off during the week, they work all weekend and they're always busy. They're always on the phone, they're always available. I'm not available on the phone after 12 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm not available in any way, shape or form on a Sunday. So if agents want to talk to me, they send me messages, whatever they do in the normal time frame, I address that Monday morning straight away. But if you take video of auctions, then you're generally going to be working weekends only. So it depends on which area of real estate you want to get into. Don't do dusk shoots on Friday nights. Well, initially you will. You'll do it whenever you can because you'll be working by yourself and you can only do 5 dusk shoots a week, right? Because you're not working weekends. Don't ever break that rule. Never. But once you get some support behind you and a few other photographers start working for you, you can do 12 dusks a week instead of 5 because you're not working Friday. The customers that give you the most grief are the ones that pay you the least and are the worst payers. They always try and haggle you on price. They always try and get you to do more for the money. Then after you've delivered the job, they'll complain about every single thing you've did with the job. You'll fix all their problems. You'll get the job done. And the next job you do, they'll complain about that. And then they'll take forever to pay. These customers you'll deal with in the beginning because when you're starting out, you have to do any work you can get. But once you get established and get customers in an area you're happy to work with, just cut these guys loose. And the same goes for this next one. Be prepared to travel a lot in the beginning. Because you're trying to get as much work as you can, you'll go anywhere to do any job. But once you get momentum, you can focus on working in a particular area that works best for you and start zeroing in on customers in those areas. So you can say to those other customers, hey, it was great to work for you, but I'm not traveling that far anymore. Things will go wrong. No matter how much of a perfectionist you are or how organized you are, things will go wrong that will throw off your day. If you have jobs that are booked back to back, allow a little time between jobs for these kind of things to happen. Quite often agents are late. They've forgotten keys don't work. They've sent you to a site and they've told you there's keys on site and they're not there. You can't get them on the phone. You get there and the house is still being cleaned by the owners. They're vacuuming and running around like crazy, so you help them get things done quicker so you can get the job done. Houses can be completely filthy, so you got to move a lot of things. All these things will add time to your day and blow your day out if you don't allow for them. This one's my favorite because if you spoke to an estate agent, everything is an emergency, but realistically, there is no such thing as a real estate emergency. Every single job that you get from an estate agent, they'll call you and they'll say, this one's urgent, mate. Can you do me a favor and blah? Can you do this? Can you do that? It's always urgent no matter what happens. Every single job is urgent. But as I said before, they're setting their own schedule, so they create their own pressure. They create their own deadlines. Obviously, you're going to do whatever you can to make their job easier and get the job done, but there is no such thing as a real estate emergency. Just remember that one. So what's the takeaway from all these things? Is it a good industry to get into? Well, yes, it is a good industry to get into. You definitely will make a lot of money. And if you do a good job, you'll be very successful and do really well. I average 15 to 30 jobs a week through my business, depending on busy times and quiet times. And the average job generally is about $300. Some are cheaper, some are way more expensive. It just depends, but the average is sort of $300. It's an industry worth getting into if you already like photography. If you're a photographer and you work for a company like mine, obviously the stresses are less because all you have to do is go out and shoot. So you only deal with issues that are on site. But if you're running your own business, you're going to deal with all these things I've talked about in the video so far. Now you've seen the other side of things. Click here for the next video, which is basically me going over my entire gear list and all the things I use for real estate. I'm also going to recommend the absolute minimum of gear you need to get started in real estate. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.